Welcome back to another video. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. Tottenham Hotspur are back in Premier League action on Sunday at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to play Crystal Palace. I'm delighted to welcome Harvey Jones from the Red and Blue Site YouTube channel, Crystal Palace fan. Harvey, how are you? And are you looking forward to the game?
Yes, mate, I'm all good. Thank you for having me, Chris. I think it'll be a good game. Yeah, I am looking forward to it.
Now, Harvey, Tottenham are sat in 8th place in the Premier League right now. We've got 12 games left. We've played 26. We've won 12, drawn 6 and lost 8. We've got 42 points. We're 5 points from the top 4. Crystal Palace are sat in 13th place, played 27, won 9, drawn 7 and lost 11. You have 34 points. Now, when I look at Crystal Palace's season so far, you've had some great results and you've had some absolutely awful results. How would you sum up Crystal Palace's season so far?
Inconsistent, in a word, and it's been a massive frustration because it's been a theme that's a reoccurring theme. We've had it for a number of years now where we seem to be going on runs of 2 or 3 games of unbeaten and then going on a run of 2 or 3 losses or something along those lines. And it's been happening for quite a few seasons now. And it's very frustrating because we're not far away. You feel like there's certain things in the squad where if we slight tweaks or slight tactical changes, and some of those games could have been better. But I think it's I don't know what it is. It might be a mentality thing, or it's just the fact that we're an aging squad. We're the oldest squad in the Premier League. I think that has got something to do with it. I think some of the players are a lot leggier than they used to be. Earlier changes look like they're needed in certain games. There's a number of factors as to why that is, but all in all, I think it's just inconsistency, to be honest, is the best way to describe it. That being said, we're at this stage of the season, it's our record points tally at this stage in the Premier League season, which is quite hard to believe, seeing as we've had some, as you said already, some shocking results in and amongst some good results. So it doesn't feel like it's been a record-breaking points tally at this stage in the season for us as fans. And I think that goes towards like the style of play, the football in some of the games has been really poor. And just, yeah, there's a number of factors. But it just goes to show things are obviously a lot better than they seem at times.
It's funny, Harvey, I did notice that record as well. But talking about some of the results from this season from a Crystal Palace point of view, now you beat Manchester United 3-1 away at Old Trafford, lost away at Chelsea 4-0, just to talk about some of the inconsistent results. Leeds United, you beat 4-1. West Bromwich Albion, you beat 5-1. Liverpool lost at home, of course, 7-0. The last 3 results, though, have been fairly decent for Crystal Palace. Brighton, a 2-1 away win. And then, of course, the last 2 games, 0-0 draws against Fulham and Manchester United. So, are you happy as a Crystal Palace fan right now?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like that Brighton game, as you mentioned, was the big one in that run of our last 3 games. If we'd lost that, obviously, it's a massive game for us as Palace fans anyway. Brighton Palace is a massive rivalry for the 2 sets of fans. But if Brighton had won that game, we'd be right in the relegation battle. It was a massive 6-pointer for that reason. And that's really given us that gap from the bottom 3 now. And we're looking at a 10 or 11 point, but I think we're 11 points clear at the moment, or 10 now that Fulham got that, or 10 now with the results that's just happened. I think that, yeah, so we're clear of danger. I think we were always quite comfortably clear of danger throughout the season. We were lingering there or thereabouts, but never really dropped into that relegation battle. As I said, it's been a matter of what the ambition is for the club. I think those results have been good results. You've highlighted some of the good results we've had, some of the bad results, and it tends to be no in between, to be honest. It's normally quite bad results in games or really, really good results. The draw, for example, last time against Man United, it's a great point. And the draw before that against Fulham was a really poor draw, the way we played. So it just goes to show, 2 draws there, but really different performances in the two results. And I think that, again, highlights the inconsistency. So in terms of position and where we are on the table and the points tally and all of that, it's been good. And I think you can't complain, but it's the inconsistent performances that have been leaving us quite puzzled, of what our ambition is for this season.
Harvey, team news for Tottenham. Sergio Aurier is expected to be back after missing the Fulham game. Giovanni Lo Celso is very close to being back, but Jose Mourinho doesn't think that it will be this game. Now, Jose Mourinho spoke about Zaha coming back and says it's not a surprise he's fit to play. Everybody plays against us. Now, it does seem funny, doesn't it, that everyone is always up for these Tottenham Hotspur games. Have you got any team news ahead of the for Crystal Palace?
That's the main one. Zaha will be fit. Roy Hodgson's confirmed that. He's been out for a month with, I think it was a hamstring injury. And that's big. The media likes to bring up the stat, that we never win without Zaha in the team, similar to the way I think Villa struggle without Jack Grealish. There is that one focal point for us, and that is Zaha. He's the key to everything going forward for Palace. But that being said, last 3 games, we've been undefeated without him. And I think that will give the team a lot of confidence going into this. And you hope that Zaha coming back in they'll be able to build on the confidence that they've gained from the last 3 results. Other team news: Connor Wickham, who's always seemed to be a walking wounded. To be honest, he's back he was back on the bench against United. He'll be fit as well for this game. Maybe could come on the bench if we want to have a different approach. I know he likes to use Benteke, Roy Hodgson. He'll probably start in this game, the way Hodgson likes to set up. But he hasn't really had that second option as like a target man or a physical striker to fall back on. So I think Wickham could get game time off the bench, potentially. Jeffrey Schlupp as well came back from injury. He was on the bench, came on for a few minutes against Man United. Those two obviously came back for the last game. But apart from that, it's just Zaha that's coming back for this one as a different squad member who's fit.
Harvey, how are you feeling about this comment on screen now? Hope Zaha does play. He never does a thing against us. 17 games, 0 goals, 0 assists.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to double check on that. I'm sure he's had better stats than that against Spurs at some point. I don't know if I have to double check that. But to be honest, I'm absolutely, that doesn't faze me at all if he's had poor stats against Spurs, to be honest, because it's what he brings to the side. He brings a lot more than the goals and assists. He's added that to his game in recent seasons, which has been obviously quite a big criticism from some pundits and some of the top teams who have been looking at him. But it's the way he draws defenders out towards him, opens up spaces for other players, his all-round teamwork and his mentality and his leadership on the pitch. I think he does a lot of stuff that stats don't bring up and highlight. He kind of goes under the radar quite a bit. So even though the stats don't suggest he has a great record against Spurs, I think that his impact and influence on the pitch as a leader and how he creates spaces for other players, it shouldn't go understated at all. I think it's really important to the way we play going forward.
Harvey, one player that you must be very, very impressed with, and that's the ex-QPR player, Eze, who has come into the side. He's looking a fantastic player so far.
Absolutely, a fantastic signing, and it's the perfect signing. The sort of player we should be aiming for. As I said, the oldest squad in the Premier League right now. I'm expecting a massive overhaul in the summer, quite a big overhaul actually of players. And Eze's the start of that. And for the price we got him for as well, I think it's fantastic money, fantastic value. He's only going to get better. He's clearly, I think the best thing about him is for his age, he's just turned 22, 23 now. Is his maturity on the ball, his confidence. He glides past players, and it's kind of just like the ease that he does it. He doesn't look stressed or panicked especially against top teams, when you've got some world-class defenders, for example, closing you down or pressing you, and he's got players around him. He just relaxes. He plays a simple pass, or he will look, keep his head up, which a lot of young players don't do nowadays, and he will look to try and go around players. And obviously, he's got that maturity in front of goal as well. I think the one that highlighted that best was obviously the Sheffield United goal, where he just ran through the whole team and scored a wonder goal. And also against Wolves, there's a slight drop of the shoulder against Dendoncker, and he lashed it in with his weak foot outside the box. And so it's just he's been a fantastic signing. Real highlight of the season for me so far is how not just him, but Wilf as well, the way they both linked up. It's very exciting to watch at times.
What have you made of Tottenham's season so far? Because, of course, earlier this season, for 5 weeks, Tottenham Hotspur was sat top of the Premier League. It looked very, very strong for Spurs. I know we're going strong in 2 cup competitions, but what have you made of Tottenham in the Premier League so far?
Yeah, well, I think I wouldn't say similar to Palace, but again, it's inconsistency, really. I see a lot from Spurs because, as I said, the start of the season was fantastic, and I really did think you'd be up there or thereabouts. I wasn't sure whether you'd be necessarily in a title race straight off the bat. I don't know if that was going to be something that would be consistent for your season, but definitely top 4 looked dead cert. Obviously, it's going to look a lot harder to make now. Still win with a shout for sure. I think it's just, again, it's certain games where I don't know whether it's just a Mourinho trait from his previous clubs that we've seen. Sometimes you see performances drop off or some falling outs happening behind the scenes. I know that he's got his favourites in terms of players he likes to start for games. And he's definitely like a Marmite kind of manager. You know, a lot of players will either react well to his criticism or react poorly. And I don't know if that's had an effect behind the scenes. I'm just guessing here. I'm sure you and the other Spurs fans will know a lot more about that. But I think that from the outside looking in, there've been times we've looked really exciting. What was your last game? And not the one before the Fulham game. Was it at
Burnley.
home? Burnley, exactly. I watched that game and you ran Burnley off the park that first half. It was fantastic to watch. Bale coming into form at the right time as well. After he's waited really patiently for this run in the team, and I'm sure you guys have waited a long time for him to get this run as well. So again, it's just you don't really know what Spurs side I think are going to show up. It's whether you're going to go for a game when you're 1-0 up, maybe go for the second goal, which you never seem to do. It always appears as though you're trying to comfortably sit on a 1-0. And I feel like with the players you've got going forward, you should definitely look to be a lot more, a lot more flair going forward because, with Mourinho, you're going to get some defensive stability, but it's whether or not you're going to be able to hold on to a 1-0 most of the time. It looks like there's not much confidence when you go 1-0 up to then go on and get the result that you should get in certain games.
Harvey, what have you made of Tottenham's style of play, though? Because, thank you very much, Alex, for your point here on screen. As long as we don't sit back and play boring football, do you, when you watch Spurs games on the TV, do you find Tottenham boring to watch?
In the games that I've watched, as I said, it depends. It goes from game to game. I think there's some games, the West Ham result as well, that you've had recently, that was a poor result. You just don't know what Spurs side are going to turn up half the time, to be honest. I expect a certain style of play, and then it doesn't really seem to happen. It's similar as well, the way that I think Alex just said there, the way you sit back in certain games. It's very similar to Palace. It's a frustration that we get as well, where we, like I said, against Fulham, that 0-0 we had a few weeks ago, we were really poor. We let Fulham come on to us, and we were very lucky to come away with a point in that game. We offered nothing going forward. And then the next week against United, it was completely different. Pressing them hard up the pitch, we looked like we were going to nick a goal at the end with Van Aanholt. It was a great save from Henderson, and it was a really good 0-0, and it was a differing performance but the same result. And it feels it's very similar with Spurs. I think it's just a mentality thing. It's like how you start the game. First 10-15 minutes will set the tempo and we'll show everyone how the rest of the game is going to pan out, I think.
We will come on to it, Harvey, because Tottenham do have a fantastic record against Crystal Palace, especially in the Premier League. But there's a question and a point on screen now. Thank you very much for that as well. What do the Crystal Palace fans think of Benteke?
A lot. We for a number of seasons now, we've been very indifferent, I think is a fair way to put it. But I think all in all, people want him to leave. I think for the good of his career, to be honest, he had that amazing debut season for us where he scored, I think it was 17 goals under Sam Allardyce. And, we played to his strengths, and that was the main thing, putting in crosses. He scored a lot of headers that season, and he was really, really good. Got an injury for a few months over the summer, started the season late the next season. Came back and he's not been the same player since. He looks a complete lack of confidence. I think there was an amazing stat. I think before this season he scored 2 goals in 2 seasons, and this season he scored 4. It's a better return, and he scored a crucial goal in our win against Brighton recently. But all in all, I think fans are just frustrated over all his lack of influence in games and lack of willingness to put himself about up front, because it's normally quite hard because he's normally on his own. But he doesn't really offer enough. Equally, we haven't offered to his strengths enough either. We don't do anywhere near as many crosses or playing it into his chest so that he can link up play. We don't really play to his strengths much at all anymore. But it's just unfortunate. I think the injuries has ruined him in terms of his confidence, and he just doesn't feel like the same player anymore. And I feel like for the good of his career, it's best if he does go. Especially though I think he's the second highest paid player at the club behind Zaha as well. So for the wage bill as well, it would be good for him to leave because his goal return is just not good enough at the moment. And I've got nothing against him, but incredibly frustrating player to watch.
Harvey, don't give me any score predictions, but how are you expecting, Crystal Palace to set up in this game? And are you expecting Crystal Palace to get something out of the game? Because let's go through some of the stats here. Now, Tottenham, in all competitions in the last 3 games, we've scored 9 goals and we've kept 3 clean sheets. It's been pretty decent for Spurs. The opposition, no disrespect, It's been Wolfsburg, Burnley, and Fulham. You know, where a lot of neutral football fans will say, yeah, but it's only Wolfsburg, Burnley, and Fulham. You know, prior to that, Tottenham had lost 5 out of 6 in the Premier League. We're in dreadful form. Crystal Palace, as I've said, you know, their last 3 results, you know, 2 draws, 1 win in the Premier League. Are you feeling confident going into this game as a Palace fan?
Confident. I feel more confident than I would be going in against United. I think in our last game, and I know the record wouldn't suggest I shouldn't be confident, because we don't do very well away at Spurs at all in the league. But especially at your new ground, you've had a couple of hammerings there that I've witnessed myself. But no, I think going into this, I expect us to set up the way we did against United, to be honest, or I want us to set up the way we did against United, which was to press you, to show an intent early on in the game. It doesn't necessarily mean creating loads of chances, but I think pressing high up the pitch and showing a willingness to put the opposition under pressure and not allow you to set up the way you want to set up and dictate the tempo. I think it's so important against top teams as a Palace side. It's the way I think we should approach every game. Whether or not Roy does that's another thing. We could quite easily sit back and look to soak up all the pressure and do it like a Mourinho ball against you, to be honest, and try and just look to break on a counter attack. With Zaha in the side as well, it's more than likely we will sit a bit deeper and try and get the ball up to Zaha and let him run things and get Eze in and around him, and hope if Benteke start and get Benteke to feed off of him as well. So again, I'm not sure how we're going to set up. I want us to play the way we did against United, which is try and put you into pressured situations high up the pitch, because I do think you can be the defence at the moment. I do think can be like we can get at you if we press you high up the pitch, but whether or not Roy does that and has the confidence to do that away to Spurs, I think is another issue.
Harvey, the last 2 meetings, of course, have come at Selhurst Park. Both of them have finished as a 1-1 draw. Crystal Palace have made it very difficult for us. What did you make of those 2 games? And of course, the 2 games prior to that were both at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The opening ceremony at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium back in April 2019 when we won 2-0, and then of course in September 2019 when we battered you 4-0. But what did you make of those last 2 games, the 1-1 draws?
Yeah, so the most recent one was we had fans at the ground at Selhurst. That was that period where we could have fans back depending on what stage you were, what tier you were in. And it was amazing. I think just having a few fans back in that game was a massive boost, gave a massive boost to the team, and it actually made a real impact on the game. It was obviously a massive goalkeeping error that put you 1-0 up. That Kane strike from about 30 yards out, that keeper just palmed in, Guaita, unfortunately. But the second half, we were fantastic against you, and it was quite end-to-end come the end of that game from what I remember. I remember Vicente Guaita redeeming himself massively, that dire free kick, great save from that, and that looked like it was goal-bound. So you could have definitely nicked it at the end, but I think Schlupp's equaliser was really well. Eze was a great set piece from him. Set pieces could come into play massively in this game, I think, tomorrow. So I do think it was it was a good draw. It was a good 1-1. I think there were chances both ends of the pitch. Whether or not it's going to be that open and that exciting, I think tomorrow is going to be a completely different story, to be honest. But from what I made of the results of Selhurst Park against you, it was just it's the way I'd expect us to set up against the top team in the Premier League. To be honest, it's the way I expected us to approach the game. So I don't know whether it's a mentality thing, and if away from home he feels like we've got to do something different. But with no fans there, and obviously it's a different size pitch, and there's obviously other reasons why you would want to set up differently. But I'd see no reason to not want to go in with full confidence and to tell the players, what we did against you last time at Selhurst, the last two results, also United, the big games we played this season. There's no reason we shouldn't go at you the same way.
Harvey, I know you're a regular down at Selhurst Park, and obviously I'm a regular at Tottenham, and going home and away. How has it been for you this past year of watching all these games at home?
It's been really annoying, really, really annoying. It's actually going to be really different, and it's going to be strange when we do eventually go back. It's going to be a massively exciting day. The day we go back, it might be the end of the season if all goes to plan. But yeah, it's been really weird, really strange. It's just it's frustrating because we all want to be there, and you all want to just for the match day experience. Sometimes it's not even about the game itself; it's about the people that your traditions, the people you meet, going to the pub, whatever you do on a match day. It's just the whole occasion of it. I think it's the big thing. And yeah, it's definitely annoying. It's definitely annoying, especially some of the results we've gotten as well. You feel like if there were fans at some of the games, it would have been electric, and you just know, you know what it would have been like if you were there. But you just got to get on with it, and hopefully, come the end of the season, everything will be back to normal. Let's hope.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, I did say earlier, Harvey, that Tottenham do have a very good record in league competition against Crystal Palace. Now, the teams have met a total of 58 times in all competitions, Spurs winning 31 of them, Crystal Palace winning only 12, and 15 of them finishing as a draw. In league competition, Tottenham, we've played 43 times, and Crystal Palace have only won 6. Why do you think that is? Why do Crystal Palace seem to struggle against Spurs so much?
I couldn't tell you, to be honest, Chris. I think that recently I think we've had really slow starts to games, especially away to Spurs. And once you get the first goal, it's a completely different challenge, you know, for us to get back into a game like that. And normally, what I've seen against Spurs recently is away from home against Spurs is first goal comes in, and then it's a second and third quickly after. Definitely in the last game. Last season at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a mental block, because that record's gone back decades, to be honest. It seems like we can't seem to get results against you in general. So only thing I could say to that is hopefully, you know, the records are meant to be broken, obviously. So hopefully a few more wins come around the corner soon. But I don't know what it is. I can't really put my finger on that, to be honest. It might just be a tactical style, and obviously Spurs have always had better teams than us over the years as well. So it's not exactly like it's a record that I think is unusual.
Well, Harvey, more stats to cringe at here. Spurs are unbeaten in 11 league games against Crystal Palace, the longest ongoing run against any top-flight side, winning 9 and drawing 2. And Crystal Palace are without a win in 8 league games at Tottenham, last winning back in 1997. Do you remember that game?
No, I was born in 97.
Brilliant. Harvey, do you have a predicted lineup for Crystal Palace against Spurs?
Yeah, I think I'll expect him to be going 4-4-2, which defensively will probably look more like a 4-5-1 or a 4-2-3-1, one or the other. Guaita will probably definitely be in goal. Back four, I'd expect Ward to start. He was our man of the match against Man United. He's been fantastic for us this season. Klein still, I think, got a knock. Ward, Cahill, Chiarte seem to be our starting centre-back pairing now. Chiarte filled in at the start of the season because of injuries we had at centre-back. I think that contributed to our really inconsistent performances as well. It's not having a settled centre-back pairing. We've only kept a few clean sheets this season. Last year, I think we were in the top 5 in terms of clean sheets kept. This season, it's been a complete reverse. And Gary Cahill's always been the centre of that. And I think he's been really good the last 3 or 4 games as well. He's been really, really good. And alongside them, probably Patrick Van Aanholt, might be Tyreek Mitchell, our player who's come through the academy. He's kind of been like a Wan-Bissaka Mark II Mitchell, to be honest. He's been very, very good this season, but I think Van Aanholt probably start. Milivojevic in the middle, probably alongside Riedewald. Frank, the last remaining Frank de Boer signing still in the side. Sorry, something's turned on there. Frank de Boer signing there, and he's still in the side, Jaro Riedewald. And then probably have Townsend, Eze out wide, Benteke up top. And then maybe have Batshuayi alongside Benteke. Or Mateta, our new signing. Obviously, we got in on an 18-month loan back in January. He's claim to fame so far has been that back heel against Brighton for his first goal for the club. It was an amazing finish. So I'd expect to see him start, maybe him alongside Benteke or one or the other. If he's going to pick one or the other, it'd probably be Benteke on his own to feed off, because he likes Benteke as a target man, even though he doesn't contribute enough for goals, which is the frustrating part for Palace fans. So yeah, that's how I expect the team to line up, and we'll probably look to just sit with very regimented lines forward to back, and then midfield line across that, very flat, trying to stop you breaking us down.
Harvey, what have you made of Tottenham Tottenham defensively this season? Because, at times we've struggled. We really have struggled this season. Jose Mourinho seems to be switching that back four or back five, so many times. Week to week. A lot of us Tottenham fans can't even predict the lineup, correctly. What have you made of Tottenham defensively?
Well, again, I see similarities with Spurs this season at the back with Palace, and sometimes in terms of the actual defensive performances, but most of the time I feel like inconsistencies and a lot of chopping and changing. Roy Hodgson does it as well. I think when we go on a bad result, he tends to change the back four, tweak something. And Mourinho definitely likes to change up the back four quite a lot. I don't know how many combinations you've had along the back line this season, but it's been a lot. And obviously, that's not great in terms of building consistency, because you kind of want to have that rock at the back, that centre-back pairing that you can rely on and build off of. And that's been a problem we've had at times this season, not really having settled pairing. We think we've got that now, which is good. But yeah, I think that's the reason why I feel like we should try and press you up the pitch, because obviously there's been poor defensive performances from Spurs that have led to poor results. And it's all come from pressing you guys up the pitch, putting you under pressure, sometimes not even putting you under pressure, just putting bodies in the box for corners and crosses, and making defenders have to, make a header. And sometimes things don't pan out the way they want to, and it all comes from pressure. So I think, from what I've made of Spurs defensively, it's been very similar to Palace. I think not having a settled partnership is cost you in games, and it just doesn't feel like there's. I know he likes Eric Dyer in there. Whether or not he's a starting centre-back for Spurs and a settled centre-back pairing alongside, I don't know who else he would be paired alongside, maybe Alderweireld at the moment, but I don't know. I feel like it can be got at, and that's why I don't think there's that fear factor at the back necessarily when you play Spurs. I think it should fill teams with confidence, really, to try and go at you.
It's funny though, Harvey, because for me being a Tottenham fan, and I think if you ask most Tottenham fans, lots of people have been on this channel, you say, who is Tottenham's best defender? Most people would say Toby Alderweireld, but of course he played Thursday night against Fulham. Games are coming thick and fast. Every couple of days a game is going on. I don't think Toby Alderweireld will play in this game on Sunday. I'm hoping he will, but I don't think he will, because we've got to rotate the squad, and it's just what you have to do. My predicted lineup for Tottenham is Hugo Lloris in goal, and in the back four of Sergio Aurier, Davinson Sanchez, Eric Dyer, and Sergio Reguilon. In midfield, Tanguy Ndombele and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. And then Lucas Moura, Dele Alli, Heung-min Son, and Harry Kane. Now, let's talk about the other end. Harry Kane and Heung-min Son, always on fire. This season, they have been absolutely superb. All but 9 goals of Tottenham's 42 league goals have been scored or set up by either Heung-min Son or Harry Kane. You, as an opposing fan, you must be, threatened the fact that Harry Kane and Heung-min Son are on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, that shows it. How do you stop that? It's clearly just been a trend this season. Is that one of them assists or scores? And mental stats. We all know Harry Kane scores goals for fun. Obviously, this season, I think more than ever, we've seen him, or you see him drop deeper and come almost pick up the ball in a deeper position and be the provider as much as he is the goal scorer, which is, scary to think that he's got that adaptability to his game to drop in like that. And obviously, because he's not blessed with electric pace, I think it suits his game quite well, actually, coming in a deeper role and picking a pass and then getting the poacher finishes, or he's got all kinds of finishes, Kane, of course. And then Son as well. I love Son, the way he plays and the style of play that he has. He's a very likeable player, Son. And I think that they're just two players that you can set up to play. You can set up in a way to stop them. And I'm sure many managers have tried to do that. That actually putting that plan into practice is probably a lot harder than it looks. I think that, we're going to try and obviously sit deep and try and park our defence on the edge of the box and try and operate with as little room in behind as possible, because I think that's where Son's definitely deadly, and Kane playing the balls over the top for Son to run onto. Trying to close up that space as much as possible is probably the best way you can stop that. But even then, I wouldn't be surprised if one of them gets a goal or assist in this game tomorrow.
Harvey, what have you made of the football under Roy Hodgson since he's been there?
It's very hit and miss, to be honest. This season in particular, there's been more calls than ever from fans for him for wanting Roy Hodgson to leave. His contract Yeah, his contract's up this summer, and people feel like it's time that he does move on. And it's still up in the air. We're not too sure whether or not there will be a new contract offer on the table. Again, that from mailing to this rebuild we're expecting to happen this summer with so many players out of contract and the age of the squad. There's a lot of reasons why there could be a massive overhaul in terms of squad and play and coaching staff. But his style of play, it's been very, very old-fashioned. 4-4-2 most of the season, being very, very deep and very unambitious going forwards. I think last 4 games we've had as many shots on target as points. And I think that goes to show what sort of influence we have going forward. Very little. Zaha's been brilliant when he's been fit. He scored the majority of our goals this season. But all in all, it's very, very lackluster going forward. And Mayweather's just boring. It's very boring. Whilst before you'd expect from a Palace side to be really flamboyant going forward in terms of the counter-attacking style. We like to break forward with pace and put teams under pressure. Go back even 4 or 5 years to like Balassi, Zaha, both on the wings. It was really exciting stuff. And even just a few years ago, under like Sam Allardyce, Alan Pardew, we used to have a lot of attacking pace going forward. We seem to have lost all of that now. When we do get the ball in these same scenarios, it's very slow going forward, and the chances are normally gone, and we look very void of ideas going forward. That's not in every game. Some games we do show that spark, and we're like, here we go. This is a start of a run, but that never happens. It never happens, and it goes back to the inconsistency point. So I feel like this could be the end of Roy's time. Not I want him to necessarily go, but I think I don't know whether he's mentally there for another season or not. I don't know, but I feel like it would be best if he does at the end of his contract just see him out and then bring someone else in. We've been linked with a number of managers like Eddie Howe, Sean Dyche. There've been 2 names that have been heavily linked with us. I think it is about time that he does go, but he's been fantastic for us since he came in.
Another person to talk about, Harvey, is Jose Mourinho, Tottenham's head coach. What have you made of his time at Spurs? Because the feelings are very mixed amongst the Spurs fans right now.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised, to be honest, because obviously when he did come in, it's off the back of quite a shock sacking of Pochettino, and obviously a massive fan favourite for obvious reasons. And it's very hard for him. It didn't matter if it was Mourinho or any other manager coming in, following on from that Pochettino era and the style that Pochettino brought to the team. And obviously Mourinho brings a completely different style really to that Spurs side. But with obviously what Levy and the hierarchy at Spurs would hope would bring trophies, the change in style and the experience Mourinho has. Chance that obviously against Man City in the League Cup final, and obviously I think, I'm not going to speak for you guys, but I feel like if you do get that trophy in the League Cup final, then that would be a successful season for you to get a trophy on the board after so long without one. But from the outside looking in, I can understand why there'd be frustration among Spurs fans with the way you're playing at the moment because of what you had before, and it's only natural you compare to what you had before and what you've got now, to be honest. And although he may bring results in certain games, it's probably quite frustrating to watch at times, I assume, as well.
From an outsider looking in, though, Harvey, from a Crystal Palace fan point of view, when you look at that League Cup final, Tottenham v Manchester City, do you think Tottenham have got a chance of lifting that trophy?
Well, the way the 2 teams are playing at the moment, no. But you never know in a cup final. You can turn up on the day, and you never know. City might not be at the races. Spurs might be bang on it on everything. It's a big if, obviously, but you're in a final. Anything can happen there.
What about Tottenham in the Europa League? Do you think we've got a chance of lifting silverware? Because it has been a very long time for Tottenham. 13 long years without a trophy. It is crazy numbers, crazy stats. The amount of years that we have waited for trophies,
especially with the squad you've got as well in recent years. It's like, how has that team not won a trophy, even if it is just a League Cup? I know it's still a major trophy, but so obviously got that final. With the Europa League, you've got the man. I'd say you do have the manager to do it. I mean, obviously he won it with Man United. What was that, 2016? He won it with United 2015. So it was only a few years ago Mourinho's done it, and he obviously has he treats it with respect as well, the Europa League. I think he definitely puts the strong team out in this competition. Even in the group stages, he seemed to take it seriously. So I think that's a good sign that a manager is taking it seriously, because so often you see managers trying to treat it as a tournament to put the youngsters in and, you know, give youngsters game time. And Mourinho's the complete opposite. He'll put his starting 11 out and try and win it. So that's a good sign. Whether or not it's obviously a long tournament. You've got so many stages in the Europa League, but you know, it's all about the draw with this. I think if you get a nice draw and then obviously you get one of the big teams come the semi-final, final, it's then do you have the bottle in those big games to get the job done? Mourinho, I think, has got that bottle. It's whether or not he can get that mindset and mentality into the team to get over the line.
Harvey, do you think that Tottenham have enough to finish in the top 4 this season? Because, of course, we're 5 points away at the moment. Some of the results have been so weird this season. Of course, Liverpool have fallen massively as well. Do you see Tottenham getting over that line and getting that Champions League place for the next season? Because surely if we do have a chance, we've got to be winning games against Crystal Palace tomorrow. Yeah,
I was about to say, I think you're definitely in with a shout. You're in that mix of teams, because there's a number of teams really pushing for that 4th spot in the Champions League now. And obviously, with COVID, obviously the timetables have changed for certain teams. So there's some teams with 2 games in hand, some with 1, some don't have games in hand. So that all comes into play as well. So it does make for an entertaining end to the season. Maybe not so much for Spurs fans being in and amongst that battle for 4th, but all it takes is a run, a little burst, and timing that burst at the right time. If you do beat us tomorrow, which, you know, stats as you suggested probably lean towards that. If you get that win and build off of that, maybe go on a run of 2 or 3 wins in a row, all of a sudden you could be 1 or 2 points off the top 4. And it's then it comes to the crunch time in the season and whether or not the team has the bottle to do it. As I said already, I think you've got the manager to do it in terms of the mentality that he has and instills in the squad to get the teams over the line. Whether or not he tactically is the right man for the job at Spurs long term is another thing that, you know, it's a conversation for another day. But in the short term, getting himself over the line, getting teams over the line, he's very good at that. So, you know, it all depends on whether you can get a run of games going at the right time, and you can end that inconsistent. You know, you had a good consistent start to the season, had a poor middle. Can you have a good end to the season? I think that's what you need.
Yeah, Harvey, going into this game, score prediction-wise, I'm going to go for 2-0 Spurs. I think that we need the 3 points, and you know, we've had a couple of good results of late. Of course, you've had a couple of clean sheets in the Premier League of late as well. You know, unbeaten in your last 3 Premier League games. What score prediction are you going with?
I'm going to back the boys in this. I'm going to go over 1-1. I think I'll definitely rip your armour for a draw going into this, and I do feel like the little run we've had, Zaha coming back into the team is going to be massive. There's no doubt about it in terms of mentality and the performance levels going forwards in the games as well. I think it's massive that he's back in the side. And even players like Jeffrey Schlupp, who's been important for us in games before he got injured as well. Getting these players coming back fit just the right time, I think, is important for us. So, yeah, I feel like all of those things combined mean that we could give you a really good game tomorrow. I really hope that's the case and we don't do what we've done previously and just crumble and be 4-0 down at half time. I really hope that's not the case. I really hope.
Well, just some other match details. Stuart Atwell will be the referee tomorrow, 7:15 p.m. kickoff at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, live on Sky Sports. Harvey, you've been a very great guest tonight. Thank you very much for joining me, and let's hope that it will be a very good, entertaining game, and Tottenham get those 3 points. Harvey, thank you very much. And, I'll put all of your details in the description box below. So please do go and visit Harvey's YouTube channel, Red and Blue Site. Harvey, thank you very much, and come on, you Spurs.
Thank you, Chris.